A New Year's Eve turned into a terrifying tragedy for 13-year-old Alicia Kazakevich, forever changing her life. The girl fell into the hands of a maniac who tortured her for days, recording everything on camera. This is a story of how a seemingly innocent online conversation can lead to irreversible consequences that shocked the entire world. Alicia was born on March 23, 1988, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Her life had everything one could wish for: loving parents, a caring older brother, and a future full of hope. In 2001, when she was 13, her brother introduced her to the world of the internet. Soon, Alicia became fascinated with chat rooms that allowed people from all over the world to communicate freely. In a Yahoo chat, she met a boy named Zaya. They messaged each other, shared their experiences, and sometimes complained about their parents. Zaya always cheered Alicia up, constantly supported her, and shared all her interests. To avoid constant parental supervision, Alicia started logging into the chat at night when everyone else was asleep. This continued for almost a year. Alicia was ecstatic. She felt like she had found a kindred spirit. Their conversations increasingly turned to the topic of meeting in person. Online communication was no longer enough. The main problem was that Alicia couldn't tell her parents she wanted to meet an internet friend. Going to meet him without their knowledge would have been impossible. Then, the friend suggested an ideal solution. He would drive to her house on New Year's Eve, and she would slip out unnoticed. The plan seemed perfect. On December 31, 2001, a festive dinner with the whole family gathered began. Before dessert, Alicia told her mom she wasn't feeling well and left the table. Her parents thought she would just go to her room for a bit and return. But Alicia had other plans. She quietly left the house and ran down the street to meet her prince. He probably wants to give me a nice present, Alicia thought. She ran, imagining how their first date would go. Very soon, the romantic mood turned into slight anxiety. The girl stood in the middle of a dark street. There was no one around. At that moment, she realized how dangerous and reckless it was to leave her home. Alicia decided to go back, turned around, but suddenly heard her name. She continued to walk towards her fate. Then everything happened in a fog. The girl found herself in a car. A man was driving her in an unknown direction. Fear paralyzed her mind, a terrible dread. It seemed as though everything happening was just a movie, but definitely not her life. After 5 hours on the road, she saw his face. It was an adult man, completely unlike the boy she had been chatting with. What was happening was incomprehensible. It seemed things couldn't get any worse. Suddenly, he grabbed her hands, pulled her out of the car, threw her into a basement, and chained her up. He looked into her eyes, smiled maliciously, and said, "Now you're going to suffer a lot, so you can cry." The next 4 days turned into a living hell for the girl. The abductor subjected her to abuse, tortured her, and recorded it all on camera. He immediately shared the videos on sadistic forums, and sometimes brought his friends to the house and allowed them to do the same. All she wanted was to survive. One day, the sadist told her he would leave the house and return in the evening. He added that he was starting to fall in love with the girl, and Alicia realized. That evening, he was going to kill her. Meanwhile, the FBI was making huge efforts to find Alicia. At some point, an anonymous man from Florida contacted them after watching a video of the girl being abused online. Fearing he might be charged as an accomplice, he decided to help law enforcement locate the victim. To do this, he provided them with the username under which the abuser published the videos. The FBI quickly traced the IP address and subsequently the location of the house in Hendon, Virginia. A special forces unit was immediately dispatched to the scene. Hearing noises and shouts, Alicia was horrified. She thought the abductor had ordered someone to kill her, but a few seconds later, the door burst open, and the girl saw the saving FBI inscription on their uniforms. For the next few days, Alicia was in shock and could barely speak. First, she was taken to the hospital, then to the police station. In the ward where she was placed for examination, she saw that even much younger children were victims of abuse. Before meeting her parents, Alicia was in turmoil. She thought she had done something wrong, and that her family no longer loved her. She was mistaken, of course. The reunion with her mom and dad became one of the happiest events of her life. The abductor was arrested half an hour after the girl's rescue at his workplace. He turned out to be 38-year-old Scott William Tyree. He had been married twice, both ending in divorce. His first wife described him as a typical programmer who was fond of science fiction and games. Before his arrest, he had never had problems with the law, but there was a dark moment in his biography. He had a daughter, a year younger than Alicia. She lived with him during the winter holidays and went home on the very day her father went after his victim. After her rescue, Alicia faced another serious ordeal: the trial. Despite all the necessary evidence being in the investigators' hands, the girl was forced to relive the entire horror. She had to watch the videos of her abuse and confirm that it was indeed her. This was an extremely reckless demand, subjecting the girl's psyche to such an ordeal, but she agreed, firmly determined to get justice. In September 2003, the court delivered its verdict. Tyree was sentenced to 19 years and 7 months in prison. In February 2019, he was released early, but was placed in a house under constant surveillance. This caused a wave of outrage across America. The correctional system chose a house for him in Pittsburgh, where Alicia lived. People, and even members of Congress, demanded that the sadist be housed far away from his victim. The situation resolved itself, albeit temporarily. In October 2019, Tyree violated the terms of his early release and was sent back to prison for another 2 years. If his sentence isn't commuted again, he will be released in 2021. As for Alicia, that dollhouse from the hospital room haunted her. She understood the danger the internet posed to children, and at 14, she decided to dedicate her life to protecting them. In a way, this saved her too, as fighting for a good cause and having a purpose allowed her to distract herself from the tragedy that could have broken her. Now, she inspires and protects people who have suffered at the hands of abusers and abductors. She also founded her own project, helping teenagers understand the dangers of social media. Throughout her journey, Alicia struggled with trust issues. Childhood trauma practically killed her faith in people. But Alicia managed to overcome this difficult barrier. Today, she is happily married. Decades have passed since Alicia Kazakevich's tragedy, but the problem of children's vulnerability on the internet has not disappeared. On the contrary, with the development of technology, it is more relevant than ever. Thousands of cases of child exploitation and abuse occur online every day. The internet gives people freedom, which everyone uses differently. Governments in various countries pass laws and impose restrictions, but this doesn't fundamentally change the situation. Alicia's story from Pittsburgh is a bitter but necessary lesson for everyone. Perhaps it will help children and their parents avoid tragedy, just as Alicia herself is helping today.